Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 10 of Vlogmas, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about video games and why, despite the fact that I'm a 46-year-old person, that I still play video games. Honestly, I don't think it's as much of a stigma for an adult to play video games as it used to be. I think probably because the vast majority of adults right now that are my age, we're all Generation X and stuff, well, we grew up playing video games. Heck, and even some baby boomers play video games. I know my uncle is the one that introduced me to video games in the first place, and he's almost 70 now, and he still likes to play video games on occasion. So, I think video games came out when the baby boomers were in their 20s and 30s. And those of us who were Generation X, we grew up with video games in the 70s and 80s. And so I think just as we keep getting older, it's like, well, some people will grow up and like, oh yeah, video games, whatever, that's for kids. But I think a lot of us are like, well, I still enjoy them, why not keep playing them? I think it's actually a better pastime than sitting there passively watching TV. Television has its place, and I do still enjoy watching television, and it's given me a lot of ideas for the fan fiction stories I write. But the nice thing with video games is it's more interactive and it engages your brain more. And I know that there's been studies done on this where video games are actually considered better for your brain than television just because it does engage your brain more, and therefore you just keep your brain cells firing a little bit more, and I think that can help with certain types of dementia as you get older because your brain is just more active if you're doing that kind of thing. So there's all sorts of studies on that kind of thing. So there are some benefits to playing video games over just watching television. Obviously doing things like reading or going out and socializing with people, that kind of thing, can actually be better too. Going out and having some physical activity. But nowadays, I mean, they're trying to work in ways of getting you so that you can play video games and have physical activity at the same time, which I think is so awesome. I know like virtual reality is a big thing. I do have an Oculus Gear, the Samsung one, where you pop your phone in. It doesn't hook up to your computer, so you just pop your phone in and you can do some things with that. And I played with that a little bit. Although to be perfectly honest, because I'm such a multitasker and I constantly want to do lots of different things at the same time, I tend to lose my focus on that. I'll play with it for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I want to go check my Facebook. And while you can kind of do that from within the virtual reality thing, it's weird. I don't know, I don't like checking Facebook while I'm in a VR world. It's just a little too bizarre. But I would love it if I could do like a game like World of Warcraft or Dragon Age or something where I could physically be like running and like being immersed in this world at the same time. And I know that there's actually a company that's come up with a system that you can do this where you're in this kind of little circle. It's got a little cage around you so you don't fall down, and you're in your socks and you're running on this surface, and while you're running on this surface you're controlling your character who as you're running, they're running. If you decide to walk, they have to, you slow down your character and they have to walk. So if you want them to get to a place faster, you'd actually literally have to kind of run a little bit. And to be perfectly honest, I've said this for years now because I've been playing World of Warcraft for 10 years. And I've always said, like, heck, if I could be the one controlling my character and running as much as my character is running, I'd be really fit. Because I mean, I'll sit there and I'll play for 3-4 hours straight, and if I was like literally up and running and if I could be hacking and slashing and pretending to wield my sword, or like do the motions for shooting an arrow or something, gee, you could build up certain skills and things. You'd have to maybe have a controller that was shaped like a bow and things, and I don't know. They still have to work all those details out on how to make that work, but man, I'd love a system like that. I really would, and I hope that comes available to consumers before I'm too old to enjoy it. I mean, it's out there now, some of it, and I think they're only selling some of these systems to like they're actually selling them to gyms and stuff. Like you could maybe like your local gym might get a system like that, so people can use that as their workout instead of going on the elliptical or the treadmill or something. But yeah, things like that would be really awesome. So I'm looking forward to the future of video games and stuff. And just going back, I actually started when video games started. I was about 3 or 4 years old when my uncle had the video game Pong. Because Pong I know started as a game that you had to go to an arcade to play. Pong was one of the first arcade games, but then they made a home version, and so he got the home version, and that was my introduction to video games, was the Pong console that my uncle had, and I must have been like 3 or 4 years old, just based off of, because I know he got it as soon as it came out, and just based off of when it was launched, because I was born in 71, so I turned 3 in 74, and 4 and 75, so if it was like between 74 76, something like that, it was right in that era that my uncle got it and I got to play with it. Then in the 80s, my friends had Ataris. I did not. Like I've said before, my family just didn't have the money, so I didn't have an Atari. We were lucky to have a television, to be perfectly honest. But my friends had Atari, so I got to play Pac-Man and that kind of thing on their game, Space Invaders. And then my uncle in the late 80s, he had gotten, it was a TI-99, it was a Texas Instruments computer. It was a console with a keyboard and a slot for software, and you hooked it up to your TV. It did come with a monitor, but you could just hook it up to your TV to play and use it and stuff. And it came with all sorts of software. The one I got did not. It only came with a video game, but it did have like spreadsheet programs and word processing programs and all sorts of time management programs. There was lots of different software. I think they had like 30 or 40 different software titles that went with the system. My uncle only ever gave me the TI Invaders, which was their version of Space Invaders, and I played that for hours and hours. Now, by the time my uncle gave me the system, because he used it for several years himself, by the time he gave me the system, it was defunct, and they were no longer selling software for it. So all I had was that one cartridge, and I don't know if he ever had any other cartridges and he just didn't give them to me because he didn't think I'd use them. Because honestly, if there had been a word processor program that he'd given me, I would have used it. Or a spreadsheet program or anything like that. I would have used them, definitely. But he only gave me the one game, so I'm like, darn. So that's all I got to play with it. And then eventually, I outgrew that, and I don't know what happened to it. I think we either sold it or we gave it away or something. And then it wasn't until college that I got to play many other games, and we had all these computer labs all over campus, and for a long time it was just DOS, MS-DOS, and some Macintosh computers, and then eventually you got Windows computers and things, and I forget if it was I think it was on the Macintosh computers where we had in one lab installed SimCity, the original SimCity game, which I was absolutely addicted to. There was Oregon Trail and Amazon Trail, and this was actually in the computer labs in the Department of Education, because I was an elementary education major, and we were encouraged to play and learn the games so that we could incorporate them into our curriculum plans for teaching, because there was a view that, hey, these video games could capture kids' imagination, and you could use them as teaching tools. So SimCity is a city planner. It's a way to learn how to budget money and plan and strategize and all this kind of stuff. Oregon Trail, there's it followed the history of the Oregon Trail literally, and so you could see the struggles that settlers would have had along the trail and that kind of thing. So there was a lot of curriculum potential for that. And then Amazon Trail, you got to learn about South America and about all of the exotic animals and plants and things that you had to collect, trying to treat some villagers for malaria, learning about bromeliads and jaguars and all of these interesting plants and animals and stuff. So that was kind of fun, you know, the fact that I was encouraged to actually spend an hour here and there playing. So yes, I played that a lot, especially, like I said, SimCity, because that was an addiction of mine. And then after I moved to Colorado in '96, I moved in with the boyfriend I had at the time, and he only did PC games. That was all he ever had played, and so obviously I got into the PC versions of SimCity, where we had SimCity 2000 and then 3000 and SimCity 4 and everything. And I followed and played all the different versions of SimCity. And then once The Sims came out, I got into that. And it was my husband that got me into World of Warcraft. He was already addicted to the game fairly well. He'd been playing since the beta version of the game, and he played it. And by the time he introduced me to it, was about 6 months, 3 or 6 months before the first expansion, which is called Burning Crusade, came out. And when he introduced me to the game, he was like, Gabby, come up to my office. I need to show you something. I just need to apologize for if I'm being distant or unavailable or whatnot. That this is why it's because I'm playing this video game. And he showed it to me, and I'm like, oh, this looks amazing. And I immediately ran out to Best Buy and bought a copy and started playing myself. And then I told him a week later, oh, by the way, I'm playing the game. And he got me to join his guild, and we started playing together, and yes, a beautiful relationship was born. Because we had been only dating for 3 or 4 months at the time that he showed me the game, and when he realized that I liked the game just as much as he did and that we could play together, that really solidified the relationship. I mean, it was only one reason. There's a lot of reasons why our relationship ended up working out really well together, but the World of Warcraft and the fact that we could play together and the fact that I wasn't nagging him about playing so much, I think it really did make a huge difference, and we did have a lot of fun playing the game together. We eventually got to a level where when they came out with what were called arena matches, where you could have anywhere from 2 to 5 people as a group, and it was just the two of us, and you'd face another group of 2 people, and it was like us together playing against other players as a team and trying to best each other. We weren't the best team by any means at all. We were in the bottom third usually. But we still had a lot of fun, and it was a nice kind of a bonding thing to play that kind of stuff together. So that's a fond memory of mine. One other game series I really loved back in the 90s was Myst. Loved Myst. I struggled with all the audio puzzles in those games, but other than that, I just loved those games so much. And last year's 2016, the same people who came out with Myst, actually they had crowdfunded a new game. You know, you'd think that they'd be like multi-billionaires from selling Myst, but they're not. So they needed some crowdfunding to launch a new game because they wanted to be independent and they didn't want to get sucked into like an Electronic Arts or some other game company like that. And so they're like, well, we need financing to fund this so that we could pay all the developers and you know, make sure that we can get an orchestra for the music, and you know, like, there's a lot of elements that go into making a video game. And so it's not Myst, it's not part of the Myst franchise, it's not part of that whole thing, but it felt very much like Myst, except that it's got all the newfangled graphics. It's all live rendered graphics instead of the pre-rendered stuff that they had to do back in the 90s, and it's absolutely a gorgeous game. So if you liked Myst at all, you know, you would love Abduction. That's what it's called. It's Abduction, and it's not abduction with an A. It's abduction with an O. Still haven't figured out exactly why they named it that. because there is abduction going on, and I don't know, but it's a really good game. I highly recommend playing it. And let's see, of course, you know, I think I've mentioned this before, Dragon Age is my latest addiction. I got into that in late 2014 because Electronic Arts, it was just before Dragon Age Inquisition was launched. Electronic Arts and Origin were giving away the original version of Dragon Age Origins. It was like a freebie download, and it was as a promo to get people to play the game so that they would want to buy the newest game. Tricky little bastards that they are. And I was kind of familiar with Dragon Age a little bit because I follow Felicia Day, and she plays a lot of different characters on TV. For those of you who don't know her, you might know her as Charlie from Supernatural. I know she had a character on Eureka. She's done a lot of character acting. And then she had her own web series called The Guild on YouTube. And then she also did a Dragon Age series of videos that she actually created her own Dragon Age character, dressed up, and filmed this whole little vignette of stories based in Dragon Age, just with real characters, real humans in costumes. And apparently BioWare, the company that makes the game, was so impressed by it that they invited her to do a voiceover for a character in the second game, Dragon Age 2, and they took her character from her YouTube series and incorporated it into the game. And I thought that was kind of fun. That was kind of cool. And I know she was absolutely thrilled by that honor that they gave her. So that was kind of a cool thing. And yeah, I really got sucked into those games. They're very story driven. I think I've mentioned that before, and because of that, it lends itself to a lot of the fan fiction stuff that I write. And I just love the characters and the lore and just everything else. And I'm chomping at the bit for the next game, which we're right now just calling Dragon Age 4 because we don't know what, it hasn't been announced yet, so we don't know what the actual title will be. And yeah, it's just it's getting time. It's been 3 years since the last game launched, so it's time for us to get a new game. Come on, guys, hurry up. They left us with a cliffhanger at the last game. I want to know what happens. So anyway, yes, I still enjoy video games. I think they're beneficial, and I swear you're gonna pry the computer keyboard from my cold dead fingers one day while I'm still playing a video game. Do you guys enjoy video games? And if you do enjoy them, which video games do you enjoy? Tell me in the comments below. Talk to me, people. I have one very loyal viewer who does leave comments with every video. Hi, thank you so much, I appreciate it, but come on, everyone else. I know there's other people out there watching me. Comment. What games do you enjoy playing? Let me know. Alright, until tomorrow, take care. Bye-bye.